got one child asleep and I have got one child watching Lego Ninjago movie. So we'll see how we go. We'll see how long we've got here. But it's school holidays, and I know that lots of mums have got extra kids around, or there's just a bit of a shift in the routine or the rhythm of the day. And that also got me thinking about when we enter motherhood and what identity transformation we go through can bring in terms of our perceptions of our own sense of freedom and our feelings of loss of freedom. In this week's podcast, we talk about it's talking about when we're coaching our children, we're really coaching ourselves. And I made the comment that we're always going to face both feelings of freedom and constraint throughout our life. Like those two things are conserved, which means that they're always happening. You can't get rid of one. And particularly the more that we feel like one is missing, the more we become polarized to see all of these examples in our world of us not having enough freedom or us feeling stuck. And the truth is, we always have both. And it's the rose-colored glasses that we tend to put on that we get stuck in, thinking that some other way would be better. Or if I just did this, then I would have the freedom that I need. Or if my kids were older, I could do this. Or if my kids were in care, I could do this. Or if my job wasn't so stressful, I could do this. But what that takes us away from is how we can empower ourselves in the present to find our bigger picture. Because I really think that if you look back at your life before you're a mother, yeah, you might have had a higher disposable income, you might have had more time to do what you wanted to do. Just got my phone ringing, I'm just going to turn that off. You might have essentially had more freedom to do what you want to do, but there was still a level of constraint within that, whether that was the demands of people in your workplace. I worked in an open plan office in a big high rise, and I'd sit down to try and get stuck into a report, and of course I'm going to get interrupted. Yes, it's not as highly emotional as how my children interrupt me, but there is still that feeling of constraint even when we think we've got freedom. And we forget that as mothers. We forget that life before also had constraint, but it just wasn't in the form of small children. It wasn't always in the pressure cooker way that looking after small children can be. But we also had, just like now, we have a little bit of room to move. And how much room to move we have depends a lot on the values we bring to our motherhood. For example, are you okay with having one child, off watching a screen while you can be here and talk to me? Are you okay with, allowing them to be more free in their day and not be so, hi Vanessa, see you tomorrow, not be so constrained by how you think the day needs to go? I think that the values we bring into our motherhood impacts how much we perceive our level of freedom and our level of constraint, because it is all about who we are and what we value. And that's going to look different for all of us. And I think every stage our child's at, it takes us to more edges around how we get our needs met at the same time as meeting theirs. I mean, when they're really little, they can't necessarily wait. And so we're the ones who have to wait. And so we need to counterbalance the waiting that we're being asked to have to do a lot for our children, to find how we fill that cup up so that we're more willing to serve. Because when we don't know what it is that we need to fill up, then we are going to build resentment towards our children. And often it'll come out in ways that we're like, how did that even just happen? How did I even just expect my 2-year-old to be quiet, or, to have totally unreasonable expectations? And those come from us when we don't feel that our own needs are being met. And that comes back to us asking ourselves, how do I counterbalance what I know that I'm feeling like I'm giving out so that I can give myself more back to be able to give out again? And I think it's a constant check-in. I think it is coming into alignment with what we're really valuing in our motherhood and how we ensure, Jules talked about this, how do we ensure that we, if they want to be outside and they want to eat, have a picnic, and we really want to have a time to relax, then we go and lay out in the sun with them and we let them climb over us if they need to. Yeah, we might get dirty, but we get to be present with them. They get to feel connected to us. And when they're feeling connected to us, it actually naturally creates more of a sense of freedom because they're not having to push and push and push and push, and their behavior get more and more erratic because they're trying to call us in. The kids are seeking connection all of the time, but the more that we don't come back into ourselves in order to give them the authentic connection, we create that bigger sense of disconnection, and no one is feeling good in the family because everyone's feeling a little bit like their needs aren't getting met, and motherhood becomes really hard because we're feeling depleted, because they're demanding, because they're trying to get us to pay attention, mum. And it's coming back in again. What do I need to feel good right now? What am I deeply desiring? What am I resenting my kids for right now? What am I resenting my partner for right now? You know, a classic one is that they get to go off and just, leave the kids with us to manage, and they can forget all day. They don't have to think about all the things that we have to think about. But what that can also create, if we're constantly looking at that, is we're now projecting onto them all of the things that we're not able to recognize in ourselves, and nor are we able to see how the relationship dynamic is helping serve us. I just want to bring home that point that within the family, like every single person and every single role everybody plays is helping us all to grow. And it's about, for us as mothers, figuring out what it is that we need to feel fulfilled in that. And it's not going to be like life used to be. We have a different identity now. We have different values now, quite likely. We have different responsibilities now, quite likely. Our level of freedom is still there to a degree, but it's different. It doesn't look like how it used to look. And it's about, for us, finding the new way for our sense of freedom. Finding freedom in our relationship, meeting the needs of our partners in a way that can meet our own needs, meeting the needs of our children in a way that also meets our needs. It doesn't have to take away. I think it's the biggest illusion to talk about relationships as being compromise. That to me sounds like someone always has to lose. How do we find the win-win? How do we lean into finding that willingness within us to find a way that works for everyone? It's not going to work for everyone all of the time, but within a day, we can certainly make it the win-win for everyone. You know what, when you're negotiating with your kids, you know what, when you're helping them through sibling stuff, sometimes one child will feel frustrated, and it's about how do you help them through that by recognizing what the other child's needing and how they can also help get what they need. And when the more that we coach our children through that, the more we're actually teaching ourselves to be able to do it for ourselves. So to be able to go back within and ask, what do I need to feel more willing to show up right now for what my kids are asking of me? I mean, for me, it's like being able to put my daughter to bed and know that I'm going to get 10 minutes to talk to you guys and talk to an adult, or, like hop online for a little bit and just connect into the stuff that fills me up. It's sitting and reading a book while your kids are playing and not feeling bad about that, not feeling like you should be doing something more than that. Because if that's deeply nourishing for you, and if that's what feels good so that you can give out again, then that's what you should do. I think that we can get so stuck in all of the things we need to be doing, all of the lists, all of the kind of keeping on top of everything. But when we're constantly focused on that, we're not in our bodies, and we're not also tuned into what we're deeply needing. And our kids want to see us fill ourselves up too. They want to see us authentic, and they want to see us lit up. No, it doesn't always seem like that, but that's what they're looking for, because we are their frame of reference on how to be in the world, how to be in relationship, how to live what's inspiring to us, how to negotiate difficulty, how to move through conflict. Like, yes, it feels like a big responsibility, but like, wow, how empowering is that also for us to, come back into ourselves all the time and think, is this the way that I want to be, or could I transform this? I know I've been doing things this way for so long, but does that work for me anymore? Does it work for my child? I don't know. Let's look at changing it up. What's my resistance? Why am I resistant? What are my beliefs around this? Would I be willing to change those beliefs? What am I scared of if I don't have that belief anymore? Developing that inner inquiry is super powerful. One of the things that we take families through, or take mothers through, which they often end up inviting their partners into with our aligned parenting course, is the piece on family dynamics, is the piece on recognizing that if one parent has a super strong set of values on gentle parenting, attachment, being deeply present, then the other parent's likely to play a polar opposite to that, because you can't have two of the same people in a family unit. The family is like a microcosm of, yin and yang, if you imagine a family playing out all of those parts. And so the more that one parent is one way, the more the other parent has to be the other, so that the child experiences the whole, the child experiences support, and the child experiences challenge. The more polarized one parent becomes, the more the other parent pushes that parent's buttons, so that you can either both come into more of an equilibrium, or that you break your own infatuation with a certain way of being in the world or being for your child. Because so often when we want to soothe our child or over support them, we take away their ability to do that for themselves. And we're actually trying to soothe and save and make okay the part of us that's still not safe, that the child in us that's still looking to be soothed, the child in us that's afraid. And the more that we see that pattern play out in our child, the more that's calling us into, wow, like what's going on for me now? Why am I really struggling seeing my child go through that? Why am I judging that thing that my child's feeling so strongly? Why am I not wanting them to face that part of, their parent, me, society? Why? Because we're perceiving that in our child because it's a part for us to learn. We can only perceive in our world what we need to perceive to grow. If we consider that, reality is such a filter, there is no fixed reality, because the sensory data that's coming into us, like every second of the day, it's like 10 billion bits of data. Like we can't perceive it all. We only perceive like 1%. And the same goes with what we see in our child. Like what one parent sees in their child, the other parent sees differently, because we can't actually all see the same thing. It's just not humanly possible. So the way that we're reading our children is even, purposeful for us, purposeful for what we're working on within us. And that is why the parenting journey is so deeply rich in expansion for us as mothers and parents, because we're facing what we need to face in our children through our perceptions of who they are and what they're into and what they're doing. And so really bringing some quality questioning around that dynamic is so empowering, as is looking at our judgments on our freedom or lack of freedom in motherhood, because I really love to lean into, how is this actually like the best time of my life? How is this actually what feels hard right now really, really inspiring for me? And yes, it feels gritty and ugly and awkward, and I'm judging myself here, and I didn't do that right, but how is that really purposeful for me? Because I think when we can lean into that stuff that we want to run away from, we find our own ability to expand into more of who we are in the world. I mean, that's ultimately what we're wanting our children to do too, is be safe to be who they are in the world. And we make that safe for them when we make more of that safe for us. So I know online parenting sounds like it's all about parenting, but it's also about us, because we're in dynamic with our child constantly, all of the time. And when we add in the piece around how perceptions work, around neurobiology, around the fact that even before we've said a thing to our kids, their nervous system's already talking to ours, there's already in this massive soup with them. That is so profound for us, because when we realize, when we can start to know how to work our own system, work our own body, we're helping our child do the same, which, I'm pretty sure none of our parents thought, not yet another responsibility, it's another opportunity, is what I see it as. So anyway, that was my little kind of chat for today, but I was just thinking about it all morning and thought I'd jump on and say my thoughts. If you're interested in learning more about, this, what we talk about in the podcast, and also this stuff around parenting and the dynamics with our kids, and also the dynamic within the family, so you can find more joy, even in the difficult stuff, our online parenting program is a place to do that. It's 4 modules of online content. You've got lifetime access. We run live rounds. We'll be also doing facilitation throughout the year in this program as well. So we really want it to be kind of a dynamic, ever-growing place that, mothers and parents with a really strong intention to not parent in a certain way as such, but to lean into the dynamics with their kids and to really choose a conscious path forward. It's really a place to feel held in a community of women wanting to do the same thing, which, when we're wanting to create change, having a tribe of people also wanting to create change in a similar direction is what helps us see that it's possible. So if that sounds like something you want to be part of, we'd love to have you join us. We start the next live round on Saturday, but you can jump in anytime. I'll drop the link in the comments and you can jump in the content and get immersed in it, and we'll go live over the weekend and beyond. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. See ya. Have a great day.